I was sitting in my car outside the Grand Gardens venue, hands still trembling with rage and humiliation. Just minutes ago, my brother Jake had stood up in front of our entire extended family and declared, "You'll always be a loser, Elsa. At least I have a family that loves me." The room had erupted in uncomfortable laughter while I sat there, having just spent $7,000 to make my 8-year-old niece's birthday party dreams come true. I reached into my purse and stared at the receipt, then at my phone showing 3 missed calls already. Before I tell you how 27 missed calls turned my family's dream party into their worst financial nightmare, drop a comment about where you are watching from and hit that like button if you have ever been the family ATM who gets no respect. What happened when they realized I was gone will blow your mind. Let me give you the background so you understand exactly how devastating this betrayal was. At 32, I had built Elsa Digital Solutions from nothing into a thriving marketing company that brought in 6 figures annually. While my peers were still figuring out their careers, I had been grinding since 18, putting myself through college and building a business that gave me the independence I had always craved. My older brother Jake, at 35, lived a completely different reality. He worked construction jobs when he could find them married to Amanda, who worked part-time retail, and they had my beautiful niece Sophia, who was turning 8. They rented a small apartment across town, while I owned a downtown penthouse. But I never flaunted my success. Family was family, and I believed in supporting the people I loved. Our parents had divorced when I was 25, and both had always favored Jake because he had given them their only grandchild. I became the family bank by default, the one everyone called when unexpected expenses arose. Jake's car repair bills, Amanda's medical expenses, Sophia's private school tuition. I covered it all without question. The pattern was always the same. They would ask for help. I would write a check, and then they would make subtle comments about my lifestyle choices. Money cannot buy happiness. They would say when I mentioned a vacation or new business venture, "You will regret not having children," Amanda would add during family gatherings. But when Sophia needed something, my phone was the first number they dialed. 3 weeks before Sophia's birthday, Amanda called me crying. "Elsa, we just cannot afford the kind of party Sophia has been dreaming about. All her friends from school are having these elaborate celebrations, and we want her to feel special too." The party Sophia wanted was a princess theme at the Grand Gardens, the most beautiful venue in our city. The venue alone cost $4,000 for the day. Add professional catering for 50 people at $2,000, plus photography, decorations, and entertainment, and we were looking at $7,000 total. "Do not worry about it," I told Amanda. "Sophia deserves a magical day. I will handle everything." The morning of the party, I arrived early to coordinate the setup. The venue was transformed into a fairy tale castle with pink and gold decorations everywhere. Professional photographers were setting up their equipment, and the catering staff was preparing an elaborate buffet that would make any 8-year-old feel like royalty. As guests began arriving, I noticed Jake and Amanda greeting everyone as if they had orchestrated this entire celebration themselves. "We planned such an amazing party," Amanda told the arriving relatives. "Jake really outdid himself this time," Uncle Robert commented, patting my brother on the back. I stayed quiet, focusing on making sure Sophia had the perfect day. Watching her face light up when she saw the decorations and her friends arriving in their princess dresses made every dollar worth it. But as the afternoon progressed, I could not ignore the growing tension building inside me as my family continued taking credit for my generosity. Extended family members filled the venue, aunts and uncles and cousins, all marveling at the elaborate setup. Everyone kept praising Jake and Amanda for their incredible generosity and amazing parenting. I found myself relegated to the role of helpful aunt, the one who made sure the drinks were refilled and the children were entertained, but not recognized as the person who had made any of this possible. The dynamic was painfully familiar. I was useful when they needed something invisible when it came time for recognition or appreciation. As I watched Jake accepting congratulations from relatives about the successful party he had thrown, I felt that old familiar ache of being taken for granted by the people who claimed to love me most. The first crack in my composure came when Uncle Robert pulled Jake aside near the buffet table. "Jake, this venue must have cost a fortune. How did you manage to afford such an expensive place?" Jake's response made my blood run cold. "Hard work pays off, Uncle Robert. Some people just know how to prioritize family over making money." He shot a pointed look in my direction while saying this, and several relatives nodded approvingly. The indirect digs continued throughout the afternoon. Amanda told a group of cousins, "It is so nice when you can give your child everything she wants without having to sacrifice your values." Jake added to a conversation about success. Real achievement is not just about business numbers. It is about building something meaningful with the people you love. Every comment felt like a small knife twist, each one designed to diminish my accomplishments while elevating their supposed moral superiority. I bit my tongue, reminding myself that this day was about Sophia, not about getting recognition for my financial contribution. The breaking point came during present opening. Sophia was surrounded by gifts from family members, thanking Mommy and Daddy for the beautiful party, just as she had been coached to do. Cousin Lisa looked around confused and asked, "Elsa, what did you get Sophia? I do not see your present anywhere." Before I could respond, Jake's loud voice cut across the gathering. "Aunt Elsa is too busy with work to think about family stuff. She will probably just send money later like she always does." The comment triggered laughter from some family members, while others looked uncomfortable. But Jake was not finished. He stood up beer in hand and addressed the entire room like he was giving a wedding toast. "Let's toast to family values and people who understand what really matters in life." His voice carried that particular tone of righteousness that I had grown to hate over the years. Then he turned directly to me, his voice projecting across the venue so everyone could hear. "You will always be a loser, Elsa. At least I have a family that loves me. Money cannot buy you real happiness or real relationships." The room went quiet. Some people shifted uncomfortably in their seats, while others nodded, as if Jake had just delivered profound wisdom. I felt my face burning with humiliation as dozens of eyes turned to look at my reaction. In that moment, years of suppressed resentment crashed over me like a wave. I thought about the $15,000 car loan I had given Jake 2 years ago, the $8,000 in medical bills I had covered when Amanda had her surgery, the countless smaller amounts for emergencies, school expenses, and day-to-day struggles they could not handle. I remembered every family gathering where I had been made to feel guilty for my success, every conversation where my lifestyle choices were criticized by people who depended on my financial support. The pattern was always the same: take my money, then make me feel bad for having it in the first place. My phone buzzed with a text from the venue manager about processing the final payment for additional services. I looked at the receipt in my purse, showing my credit card charges, $7,000 total for this party that everyone thought Jake and Amanda had paid for. Jake was still holding court, making jokes with relatives about priorities and real success, while basking in praise for throwing a party he could never have afforded. The irony was so thick I could taste it. The man calling me a loser was only able to look successful because of my money, and he was using that borrowed success to humiliate me publicly. Something inside me snapped with crystal clarity. If I was such a loser, then they clearly did not need my loser money to maintain their perfect family image. I quietly gathered my purse and coat, moving toward the exit, as Jake continued entertaining his audience with commentary about what made someone a winner or loser in life. Sophia ran over as I reached the door. "Aunt Elsa, where are you going? The party is not over yet." I knelt down and hugged my niece tightly. "Enjoy your party, sweetie. Happy birthday." She smiled and ran back to her friends, completely unaware that the financial foundation of her magical day was about to crumble. No one else noticed my departure. Jake was too busy enjoying his moment as the successful family man, and everyone else was too focused on the entertainment to see me slip away. Sitting in my car, I pulled out my phone and sent a quick text to Mark, the venue manager. "Please call me before processing any additional payments for the Richards party." Then I drove away, leaving behind the sound of Jake's laughter and the sight of my family celebrating a success that was entirely built on my generosity and sacrifice. The first domino fell exactly 18 minutes after I left the venue. Mark called me from the main office, confusion clear in his voice. "Ms. Morrison, I just wanted to confirm the additional charges for the Richards party. We have bartender overtime, extended cleanup services, and equipment rental that was not in the original package." "Mark, I need to remove my credit card from all files related to this event. Any additional charges should be directed to the party hosts, Jake and Amanda Richards." There was a pause. "Ma'am, the party is still happening. These services are currently being provided based on your account guarantee." "Then I suggest you contact the people who are taking credit for paying for everything. My authorization is withdrawn effective immediately." The total unpaid balance was $2,300 for services that were already being provided. Bar service, extended venue time, additional catering requests, and equipment that would need to be paid for before removal. All of it had been automatically approved under my financial guarantee, but that safety net had just disappeared. Within 30 minutes, the ripple effects began. The photographer called Jake directly informing him that my credit card had been declined for the additional hours he had requested. The bartender approached Jake asking for immediate cash payment, since the account was no longer authorized. The party entertainment company sent their manager to find Jake, with news that they needed payment confirmation, or they would begin packing up their equipment. Each vendor conversation grew more uncomfortable as Jake and Amanda realized they were suddenly responsible for charges they had never budgeted for. The catering manager appeared next, explaining that extended service and additional food requests required immediate payment authorization. My phone started ringing. The first call was from Amanda, her voice high with panic. I let it go to voicemail. The second call came 3 minutes later from Jake himself, and his tone was pure anger. "What the hell is your problem, Elsa? Get back here right now and fix this." "Fix what?" I asked calmly. "They are saying your card is not working. The vendors want money we do not have." "That sounds like a problem for the people who threw this amazing party. You told everyone how successful you are. I am sure you can handle a few vendor payments." The third call came from Amanda crying. "Elsa, please, what are you doing? Sophia's party is falling apart." By the fourth call, Jake's tone had shifted from anger to desperation. "Look, maybe I said some things I should not have said. Can we just deal with this later? You called me a loser in front of our entire family, Jake. You took credit for a party you could never afford while humiliating the person who actually paid for it. Now you want my help." I started returning 1 call per hour, staying perfectly calm, while Jake and Amanda spiraled into financial panic. Their checking account had $300 available. The venue was threatening to shut down the party without immediate payment for the additional services they had already provided. As the afternoon continued, guests began noticing staff members approaching Jake and Amanda with increasingly urgent payment requests. Sophia started asking why the grown-ups looked worried and why some of the entertainment equipment was being packed up earlier than scheduled. Uncle Robert, who had praised Jake's financial success just hours earlier, declined when Amanda desperately asked him for an emergency loan. "I thought you guys had everything covered," he said, confusion evident in his voice. Cousin Lisa started putting pieces together when she overheard vendor conversations. The family members who had spent the afternoon praising Jake's generosity began realizing that something was seriously wrong with the financial arrangements. My phone showed 27 missed calls by 6 p.m. The progression told the whole story. Jake's first 8 calls were angry demands for me to return and fix the situation. Calls 9 through 18 showed increasing desperation as the financial reality set in. The final 9 calls were pure panic as vendors threatened to involve collection agencies for unpaid services. The voicemails escalated from, "How dare you embarrass us like this?" to "Please, Sophia is crying because her party is ruined." Amanda left parallel messages ranging from accusations to begging. When extended family members started calling me for explanations, I gave them the same response I had given Jake and Amanda. "Ask Jake about the payments. He said hard work pays off and that successful people know how to prioritize." The party limped to a conclusion with an IOU arrangement that Mark allowed out of sympathy for Sophia. Jake maxed out both of his credit cards to cover the most urgent vendor payments. But the photography session was cut short and the entertainment company left early, disappointing the children. As guests departed, adult conversations centered around the financial drama that had unfolded. The elaborate party that was supposed to showcase Jake's success had instead revealed the truth about his financial dependence on his loser sister. By evening, Jake and Amanda faced the reality that their monthly budget was destroyed by unexpected debt. The venue was pursuing legal action for the unpaid balance, and their professional relationships with vendors were damaged by bounced payment attempts. Sophia's friends' parents had witnessed the payment chaos, creating social embarrassment that would follow them for months. The 27 missed calls represented more than panic about money. They were the sound of a family learning too late the true cost of biting the hand that fed them. The week following Sophia's party was a financial disaster for Jake and Amanda. They were forced to take out an emergency loan at 18% interest just to cover the venue's remaining balance and vendor payments. The collection agency that Mark had mentioned became a reality when several smaller vendors pursued their unpaid invoices through legal channels. Sophia kept asking difficult questions about why her perfect party had ended with adults arguing about money and why some of her friends had to leave early. Jake and Amanda struggled to explain the situation without admitting they had never actually paid for anything. The family WhatsApp group, usually filled with photos and casual updates, became a battlefield of speculation and judgment. Extended family members who had witnessed the vendor drama started asking pointed questions about who had really funded the elaborate celebration. 2 weeks after the party, Jake and Amanda showed up at my office building unannounced, creating a scene in the corporate lobby that required security intervention. "You destroyed our daughter's birthday party," Amanda screamed while Jake stood behind her red-faced with anger and embarrassment. "I thought successful people did not need help from losers," I replied calmly as building security approached. "Perhaps you should have consulted with your financial advisors before planning such an expensive event." The public confrontation in my professional environment was the final straw for Jake. His aggressive behavior toward me in front of my colleagues resulted in security escorting them both from the building, adding another layer of humiliation to their growing list of consequences. Extended family reactions split into clear camps. Uncle Robert called to apologize, admitting he had no idea I was funding Jake's apparent success. "We all thought he was doing well financially," he said. "If we had known you were covering everything, we never would have praised him for generosity that was not his own." Aunt Susan took the opposite position, calling to lecture me about family loyalty. "Regardless of what Jake said, you should not have abandoned your niece on her special day. Family forgives family, Elsa." The cousins were divided between those who supported my decision to set boundaries and those who criticized what they called my cruel response to a simple misunderstanding. Social media posts from the party created additional drama as people tried to piece together what had really happened. Both of my divorced parents got involved despite their usual policy of staying out of each other's family business. My mother called to say I had been too harsh, while my father surprised me by supporting my decision to stop enabling Jake's entitled behavior. Professional consequences began affecting Jake and Amanda in unexpected ways. Jake's construction boss heard about the financial drama through mutual connections in our small city, raising concerns about Jake's stability and judgment. Amanda's retail manager reduced her hours after her stress-related performance issues became disruptive to other employees. Their credit scores took a significant hit from the late payments and collection activities, affecting their ability to secure better housing or make any major purchases. Sophia's extracurricular activities had to be cancelled as they redirected every available dollar toward paying off the party debt. By the second month, extended family members began discovering the full scope of my financial support over the years. When Uncle Robert mentioned Jake's new car from 2 years ago, I casually mentioned the $15,000 loan that had never been repaid. When Cousin Lisa praised Amanda for handling her medical crisis so well, I explained about the $8,000 in medical bills I had covered. As family members did their own calculations, the total emerged over $60,000 in financial support over 5 years. Money for emergencies, daily expenses, special occasions, and general living costs that Jake and Amanda could not handle on their own. The revelation completely shifted how extended family viewed the birthday party incident. Jake's previous boasting about his success and financial responsibility was revealed as elaborate deception built on my silent generosity. The moral high ground he had claimed while calling me a loser crumbled under the weight of financial reality. I began seeing a therapist to process the years of family manipulation I had been carrying. Dr. Sarah Martinez helped me recognize the codependent patterns that had developed where I gave money, hoping to buy love and acceptance from people who consistently criticized my life choices. "You have been conditioning them to see you as useful rather than valuable," she explained. "When you are useful, you get temporary appreciation. When you are valuable, you get consistent respect. The difference is crucial." The therapy sessions revealed how my single successful status had always threatened my family's narrative about what made someone worthy of love and respect. By being independent and financially successful, without following traditional family patterns, I challenged their beliefs about priorities and values. As I worked through years of suppressed resentment, I realized that enabling Jake's behavior had actually hurt Sophia in the long run. By never allowing natural consequences for poor financial decisions, I had prevented my brother and sister-in-law from developing the skills they needed to provide for their daughter independently. 3 months after the party, unexpected positive outcomes began emerging from my decision to set boundaries. Business referrals came from relatives who respected my backbone and wanted to work with someone who valued herself appropriately. My dating life improved significantly as I learned to recognize and reject people who saw me primarily as a financial resource. Friendships that had been unbalanced by my tendency to always pay for everything became more genuine when I stopped automatically reaching for my wallet. Professional relationships strengthened as colleagues observed my ability to maintain boundaries under pressure. 4 months after the incident, Amanda made the first attempt at reconciliation with a tearful phone call. "We were wrong about everything, Elsa, but please think about Sophia. She misses her aunt and she does not understand why you're not around anymore." Jake's apology came later and was far less sincere. "Maybe I was out of line at the party," he admitted grudgingly, "but you really went too far with the revenge thing. Family should stick together." The family pressure for me to be the bigger person intensified as relatives who wanted holiday gatherings to return to normal pushed for reconciliation. But I had learned the difference between forgiveness and restoration of unhealthy patterns. My conditions for rebuilding any relationship were clear and non-negotiable. No more automatic financial support without formal loan agreements and repayment schedules. Equal treatment and respect at family gatherings or I would not attend. Full acknowledgement of my contributions without attempts to minimize or take credit for my generosity. Most importantly, my relationship with Sophia would be maintained independently of her parents' behavior. I loved my niece unconditionally, but I would not allow that love to be weaponized against my boundaries. 6 months after the party, the long-term restructuring of family relationships had created a healthier dynamic for everyone involved. Jake and Amanda were forced to develop actual financial skills and budgeting discipline. Extended family members became more aware of everyone's real contributions and stopped making assumptions about who was responsible for a parent's success. Family gatherings became smaller but more honest with realistic expectations about expenses and contributions. My role shifted from family ATM to respected sister and aunt. A change that benefited everyone, even if not everyone appreciated it initially. 1 year later, my personal transformation was complete. I was in a serious relationship with someone who admired my independence and success rather than trying to diminish it. My friendships were based on mutual respect rather than financial utility, and my business thrived without the constant distraction of family financial emergencies. The confidence I gained from setting boundaries with my family extended to every area of my life. I learned to recognize manipulation tactics and respond appropriately whether they came from clients' romantic interests or anyone else who tried to exploit my generous nature. My current relationship with Jake's family was limited but respectful, based on clear boundaries and mutual acknowledgement of past mistakes. Sophia received age-appropriate gifts and attention during holidays and special occasions, but I no longer felt responsible for funding her parents' financial shortcomings. Jake's behavior had been permanently changed by experiencing the natural consequences of disrespecting someone who had supported him for years. Amanda had become more appreciative and less entitled in her interactions with me, understanding that my help was a privilege, not a right. The wisdom I gained from this experience changed my entire approach to relationships. I learned the crucial difference between supporting someone and enabling their destructive behavior. I discovered that love without respect is actually manipulation, and that being generous does not mean accepting abuse or taking advantage. Most importantly, I realized that teaching people consequences for their actions is actually an act of love. By allowing Jake and Amanda to face the results of their choices, I forced them to grow in ways that my previous enabling had prevented. The life philosophy that emerged from this crisis became my guiding principle in all relationships. Your worth is not measured by what you can do for others, but by how others treat you when they cannot benefit from your resources. True family supports your success rather than resenting it, and the best gift you can give someone is the natural consequences that help them become better people. What would you have done if your own family publicly humiliated you after you had secretly funded their success for years? Have you ever been taken for granted by people who claim to love you while benefiting from your generosity? Share your story in the comments below, and do not forget to hit that like button if this resonated with your own experiences of setting boundaries with entitled family members. Subscribe for more real-life stories about standing up for yourself when the people closest to you cross the line, and please share this video with anyone who needs to hear that their worth is not determined by how much they sacrifice for others who do not appreciate them. Remember, you teach people how to treat you by what you are willing to accept, and sometimes the most loving thing you can do is let someone face the consequences of their choices. Thank you for listening to my story, and I hope it gives you the courage to value yourself as much as you value the people who should be valuing you in return.